Hello everyone. We begin with the white pieces against chess WB rated 1400 as we continue our rapid speed run. The Ruy Lopez in the Pirates this time around. He goes for the Philidor setup, and we like to attack it immediately with pawn to d4, gaining space. He captures. Um, you could capture with your knight or your queen. I'll capture with the queen. The thing with the queen is once he does this, you have to give up your bishop pair because there's no point in taking with the queen if you're going to move it again. So you kind of have to pin the knight saying you're not going to move it. He unpins it, but then you have to take so he doesn't take your queen. So you get your queen in the center, but you give up the bishop pair. So good and bad. So now we can just continue development. Castle. And basically he has everything on the back rank. One bishop out. So at the cost of our bishop pair, we're fully castled, knight and queen out. So that's it. And now he's going to castle long, which is fine. I think we should just continue developing our pieces. Knight out or rook over, either one makes sense. If he does castle long, maybe this pawn hangs. So he develops a knight, and this double pressures our center with minor pieces. So I'm going to throw in rook e1, develop, x-ray the king, defend. Okay, so he'll likely castle short. So I don't know what this queen move was, but I think he's going to go short. I think he's going to chicken out, which makes sense. Knight in here makes more sense considering I'm hitting his bishop. If he doesn't want to lose the bishop pair, takes, pins his bishop, hits this. I like it. Other moves. This is a bit I'm going to go for this one. Threatening to take his dark square bishop. Or his light square bishop, whichever one. Regaining my bishop pair. Or not, like I don't get the bishop pair, but he also doesn't have it. So he takes this way. And now we take. So he gave up his good light square bishop instead of his bad dark square bishop, which we're happy to see. But now he's castled, and the game's somewhat even, but we have this nice pawn in the center, and he does not. So we have more space, a centralized queen. You'd rather be white. Our bishop's better than his bishop. You'd rather be white. We don't want to trade those bishops. If you put your bishop here, he hunts it. C5 maybe is an idea coming, creating weaknesses on purpose to gain activity. I want my bishop on this diagonal, but I don't just want to go b3. I think b4, it also stops c5. He can go a5 there, which is a little annoying. Here, I don't want to take, I don't want to push, I don't want to go c3 or a3. I guess a3 is possible. Okay, so I'm not going to go b4 because of a5. I still want a fianchetto. There's c4, b3, fianchetto. I guess I'll start with b3. If he plays c6, maybe then I'll go c4. Okay, bishop back, which opens up for the rook, but clearly disconnects the rooks. So that can't be the correct move. So let's continue. We're now tethering his knight in place, because otherwise checkmate. I guess he could move it and defend, but better be careful because I'll take it here and I'll kick it here. So the good thing for him is we don't have any, real pieces to try to dislodge this with, so we can force the mate. However, we can. Okay, so he does go c5, but I think it's bad. If we en passant, he'll probably take with a pawn. But however he takes, well, if he takes with the pawn, knight e5 is interesting. If he takes with the queen, I could pile up on, well, I could play c4 first. I mean, it's bad for him no matter what, because positionally, he's creating more pawn islands than he had before, right? No matter how he takes, he's going to have more pawn islands than us, 3, against our 2. This pawn is weak. He would love to push it. For example, rook behind, he pushes the pawn. But that opens up new squares. Also, his knight can't move, so we have rook e4 threatening, I don't know, to move the rook somewhere. But right now, let's look at his center. I like the knight move because it's pinned, hits the queen and the pawn. If the queen just moves, what does it do? Now we have the knight where we need to dislodge his knight. He's not going to take, but if he does, I don't know, anything like, I don't know, a pass, takes, but then bishop comes and you have no checkmate. But if we go here, he has to also defend this pawn. So realistically, he can go here. His bishop is the problem because he can't go anywhere. But I'm also not getting what I want. So let's start with the rook. And we could hop this in next. It's not fancy because it's not like the cool, oh, it's pinned. But it's still a good move, right? Because it hits the queen, you get it in for free. You could go here after that. And just look at my pieces. And I mean, they're greatly placed. So now he tries to go here, hitting our queen. But wasn't this the threat? Check here, 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 and if here, here. I thought this was the threat. I don't see what he's doing. All of my pieces look magnificent. The only 2 pawns I really moved were the central ones to open everything up. And then this pawn to give bishop scope, but you can see I'm not playing with my pawns or pawn storming like you've seen me do in the Jobava London. I'm simply playing with my pieces. He's now threatening this, but we have ample ways to defend. We're up a pawn, which is a win condition, and he has a losing structure. It's another win condition, so we can feel free to trade if we want, like this. If this c pawn was on b6 and they were connected and you're only up a pawn, he could probably draw it with both of his rooks, but seeing how it's also weak, it's unlikely. He's now blocking this, but if I move my bishop, he's going to reopen it. So what I'm going to do is throw in h3, so if he takes, I take. He still has the pawn weakness, his bishop is blocked, and I don't have back rank problems anymore. Or he can move his knight without a threat. I checked to make first. He couldn't, like, hit a rook or something. That way I just lose material. The most he could do is Desperado, which doesn't work. So when he goes back, okay, so he takes this way, and now this pawn is hanging. We're up a pawn, and we're more active, ready to infiltrate. But right now his pawn's hanging, so he offers a trade to protect his pawn X-ray. Not much I can do about that, right? So I suppose you just take. I mean, you don't really have anywhere to go or a way to defend it. Okay, if we infiltrate, everything is defended for him, right? So you could do that. But I feel like if we infiltrate and he pushes, I mean, what do you do there? Takes. You checkmate him. So he does have back rank problems. So we got to keep that in mind. Kind of want to go here first to just to blockade, but that's like the slow way to win. But if I go in, he just moves his king over. Why am I even there? Okay, let's throw in one sneaky improving move because we can take this. No, we can't take that. What am I saying? It just pressures it. He does jettison the pawn, but we can take it because of the back rank problems we talked about. So he fixes those, but now I could push, and then he just loses the game because that was his only thing to try to play for is get that pawn with the rook, get behind our position. But now that we've protected this pawn, he's just down 2 instead of 1, and this is just a strong central pawn. He tries to infiltrate with his rook now, but it's a little much. Let's improve this knight and look at 2 interesting squares. Okay, he goes for the check. We're forced to go up. Okay, he's pinning our knight, so he can probably do this. More tricks, I guess. You could defend it a number of ways, including moving your king, but I'm just going to go g3. No more pin. Okay, he's attacking 2 pawns in 1. I created an easy way to defend one of them. So let's improve our king. He takes that one. Wastes a lot of time. I guess I'm just going to do this and try to queen. It happens to stop his attack on this pawn too, which is really annoying for him. What's he going to do? Take the knight? Why'd you put your rook there? That's crazy. Okay, he he wants to attack it this way. This guy's really bent. He's set on getting this b pawn. Okay, that's a piece. So now the game is over because of a piece. So that's resignation. But it was over long before that. And so when they play the Philidor, you could take with either the knight or the queen. If you do take with the queen, you got to be prepared to give up your bishops this way. That way you don't have to spend your turns moving your queen again and again. Yeah, my opponent played pretty well with 87%. Not bad. We have 2 inaccuracies, 95%. So overall, nothing crazy to look at, but let's just go through the game. You're forced to take to protect your queen. And now you finish castling. Development center. Development center prophylaxis. Improving a piece, and the threat is to remove his bishop pair. If you just turn on the engine, if you don't want to move the same piece twice, other moves, b3, doing what I did later on in the game, fianchettoing, or h3, which I also did later in the game. If you don't want to move the same piece, but I moved the same piece again, offering him kind of an easier way out by trading, but that's okay. The position's still even, but white is slightly preferred. If I turn on the engine, yeah, b3 and c4. If I was going to go b4, I thought he can maybe go a5, and they want you to push past. I didn't calculate push past because of takes, but oh, the bishop. Duh. Oh yeah, you could have pushed past, I guess. Another alternative, but hardly necessary to play. b3 is good enough. B4 wasn't even on the computer's list, so b3 is good. Now we just develop and center. He hits the queen, and immediately it goes from plus 0.4, so white is slightly better, to plus 1.3 positionally, at least a pawn better. Because you can see all the weaknesses this creates long term. So that's what I said. It doesn't even matter what you do, but he kind of just creates, more pawn islands. And you can immediately attack them. It just looks really bad for him. So development and for free. I thought he was going to push and I would jump my knight in, but he does this, which apparently is just losing because we take the free pawn. And now we're just up material in his position. He tries to get cheeky, but we improve a piece for free because trades are wins. And now we counterattack because trades are wins. Takes, plus 2.5, completely winning for white. Forced trade. And now this was a totally random move. You do not have to play rook e4. Actually, this is where I'm curious. Okay, so knight e5. Wait, rook e4 is best? What? I mean, it keeps changing, but it's crazy. I mean, it obviously adds pressure. And for this one moment, he can't push because of the background issues. So it's not, like, it's obviously not a bad move, but is it the best? The computer's saying yes. Along with rook e2, rook d1, and all the moves are the same. Huh. It's weird, though, because when I made rook e4, I'm like, it's good, but at the same time, I had a feeling like maybe there's better somewhere, but I couldn't find it. 95 is interesting, but blocks my rooks. That's why I didn't play it. I wanted to go 95 just so you could just sit on the blockade square, and then long term, you just win. But that was like a long term plan, so I went for rook e4, which I'm glad the engine really likes. So let's say he does a move like g6, you hop your knight in. Yeah, you just get to the outpost. And if he goes f6, you still go to the outpost, but the other way. Okay. So rook e4 was just like kind of unnecessary. It's kind of how I feel about it. I guess it also does clearance the rook e1, the e1 square for the knight on f6 and stuff. But if you played knight e5 first, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Anyway, he hangs a pawn. And then you could do whatever you want, but you might as well push for a queen. Now knight e5 comes. I mean, there's slightly more accurate ways to play this as white as far as technique goes, but you're +2, and at the end of the day, you just kind of win. Because this central pass pawn is just like none of these three pawns here and this fourth pawn here, they don't have anything to do with this game, any relevance, because we have a 3-on-3 here. So even 5 moves from now, 10 moves from now, like these pawns just don't matter as far as the game's concerned. Over here, this pawn only matters if he's able to take our b pawn and in the meantime stop our strong pawn. So that's not a practical thing. So we just retreat the knight, and he spends so much time going for the b pawn, he misses the gist of the game, which is that I'm about to queen. I'm 4 moves away from queening. One of those moves is tempo, so I'm 3 moves away from queening, right? You have to think of it like that. Immediately he goes for the pawn, and we just run. And the game's over. So, I try to explain things, in a simple way. I understand chess is not simple, and I understand how hard it is to see these things from a perspective when you don't have the experience, the knowledge and stuff. Hopefully you can just bring your pieces out as fast as possible and try to counter-attack instead of defend. Good luck in your chess, and goodbye.